Paige, what if the strongest force in your life is not what you do, but something that you've quietly decided is true?
That's Sankalpa, the seed beneath the action, the thing you've committed to without quite knowing that you did.
And every action that you take is the result of it.
Desire becomes resolve, resolve becomes action, and action becomes your reality.
So if you want to change your life, the shift doesn't happen at your actions.
It's in the intention, the quiet vow the heart has been repeating to itself.
This is Sankalpa, the seed of every action that you'll ever take. I've practiced yoga consistently for over 10 years now, and I know that the most important part of building consistency is community, other people to hold you accountable. And second to that is a solid practice plan to help you experience the true benefits of the practice. And this is exactly why I created the OmSom App. It's a free study tool to help you learn the Sanskrit and the philosophy of yoga. Plus, it's the home to our online community, which we call Sadhana Sangha. Every single month, the team and I offer 5 practices, and I guide you through an asana workshop as well as a subtle technique, and we translate a few lines of the Yoga Sūtra together. It's honestly been my dream to create this app since I started teaching, because this is what I truly needed when I started practicing. So check it out in the show notes, or just search OmSom in the App Store. That's OmSom. Now, back to the episode. Namaste. Welcome to the OmSom Yoga and Ayurveda podcast. My name is Aaron Petty. I am a yoga teacher and a yoga therapist, a teacher trainer, anything yoga. I'll give it a crack.
My name is Paige Taylor. I am a yoga teacher and Ayurvedic health practitioner and a dedicated lover of this tradition and everything that encompasses it. So welcome to our podcast.
Now, you might notice that we are not at the OmSom studio today.
We're in a different location.
And for the next few episodes, we are going to be in a different location because we really tried to pre-record everything that we wanted to record, but we didn't get it done, so we left. And now we're in beautiful Sri Lanka. We are halfway through our yoga teacher training program, which if you listen to the podcast frequently, you will have heard us talking about a lot. Beautiful group of people here, beautiful, lovely weather, coconuts ahoy.
The best. And we actually have pretty silently launched our next intake of this 200-hour Hatha Yoga teacher training in Sri Lanka. We come here every July. So that means that we've just released the dates for July 2027, the 4th of July to the 25th of July, I believe. So if you have been planning to do a 200-hour yoga teacher training, or if you want to come and do your 200-hour with us, even if you've already done one before, or you're just dreaming of a 3-week retreat with us in Sri Lanka next year, then you should check it out.
You should definitely check it out. Now, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about Sankalpa.
Sankalpa, exactly.
Yay, this is one of my favorite concepts.
I feel like we say that every episode, but I'm not going to jibber-jabber about it too much, so let's just get straight into it. We have been exploring a couple of things. We've been exploring karma, kriyā, vikalpa, which was what?
The limiting self-beliefs.
And now we're going to start to explore what we call Sankalpa. Now, this idea of Sankalpa, we could take many, many different directions with it, as you likely know. But it is very often heavily intertwined with Yoga Nidra, and specifically in both the Satyananda tradition and the Swami Rama tradition. So today's story is a teaching from Swami Satyananda. Satyananda was one of the Swamis who brought Yoga Nidra to the modern yoga tradition. And one day a student came and he asked him this question: why do we plant Sankalpa at the deepest stage of Yoga Nidra when the mind is barely conscious? Like, that doesn't really make sense. Satyananda said, because that is the only place where the seed will actually take. At the surface, the mind is full of weeds, he says. Doubts, the counter-arguments, the vikalpas, memories of every time that resolve was broken before. But in the deep subconscious part of the mind, there's only soil. The seed lands there and it takes there and it grows roots. The student says, but that subconscious soil is dark and the seed doesn't seem to do anything. And And Satyananda says, but that life direction, the direction that your life is moving, even now, is one that was planted deep in your subconscious long ago.
It's true.
And ever since then, you have been watering that intention with every choice. He says the work of Sankalpa is not to plant the right seed, but it's to find what you've already planted and to choose with full presence whether to keep watering it or to plant something new.
Love it.
Yeah. So, what the hell does that mean?
I mean, I'm sure we're going to go all into it, but I think what I love about this story and what I love about Sankalpa is it's like the yogi's system of manifestation. And what I love so much about it is it gives us a path to actively pursue our goals and our visions and our intentions and everything that we wish to cultivate. That I haven't been in the modern day manifestation world for a very long time. But when
Did you ever read The Secret?
When I was there, no, I didn't. I listened to a lot of podcasts on it and tried to get into the law of attraction, and that wasn't really my vibe.
The Secret is the book that talks about the law of attraction.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I would like to read that. But I think, anyway, I haven't been in that world for a while. But when I was there, I think it seemed so passive. And it seemed like
just kind of like put it on your vision board.
Put it on your vision board and write your journaling prompts down, whatever. And like, if you think about it, it will come to fruition. And yoga is always an active practice. It's an active pursuit of complete totality and complete presence. And except when we're in yoga nidra, of course. But still, there's that intention. And that's why I love Sankalpa so much is it says, get clear, get really clear on what it is that you want. Deep, deep within your heart, what is it that you want to cultivate? And then implant that seeds in the depths of your practice. Use your practice to fuel you with the Shakti, with the power, with the energy to propel you in the direction of that Sankalpa. That it becomes this active pursuit, something that we can choose to do, choose to act on every single day to achieve our wildest dreams. I love that. It's very empowering.
Beautiful. Well, how about we define Sankalpa? Because I actually learned something in my research for this episode.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but I learn through planning these episodes. And you know how sometimes like we come to the podcast and then I'll tell you something new and you're like, that's not what we say about that thing.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, because I go and
You do some research.
do a bit of research. Anyway, so I was looking at the etymology of the word Sankalpa. And what's your definition of Sankalpa? Do you remember how we break up the etymology?
Kalpa is like a period of time.
Okay.
And sun is like, I guess to like move towards, or I don't remember.
Yeah, okay. So commonly, we, or historically, you and I have explained it like this. We would say Sat and Kalpa. Sat, an aspect of truth, and Kalpa, a long, long period of time. And Kalpa does have that definition. But here's what I pulled together is it actually comes from sam, which means to pull together, or something which is complete or whole, and kulp, which is to form or to construct, right? And so a complete formation of your intention. Right, your desired outcome in its complete form, planted inside of your heart.
I like it.
Right? I thought that was really interesting because it says that actually your Sankalpa and the outcome are not different.
Yeah, it's true.
And there's this teaching on Sankalpa as, you know, the pure or the impure Sankalpa. I don't know if that's the words that we use, pure and impure. But the idea is a Sankalpa that you believe fully and a Sankalpa that you don't fully believe. And it's like it can only be a Sankalpa because it's already the truth.
Achieved,
You know, and it's like when we do that in that practice in Yoga Nidra, it's like you should give thanks after saying your Sankalpa, knowing that it's already been achieved.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Mm.
Yeah, I like this idea of the Sankalpa and the outcome not being different. It almost speaks to the same idea of like how Sanskrit language is an onomatopoeia, that we're not pointing towards something with the Sanskrit words or the mantras that we chant. We're invoking that, we're experiencing that. And the same with the Sankalpa, that it's Sankalpa isn't the words that you associate with the desired goal or outcome. It's the feeling that arises only from that being fruited, like coming to fruition already. Yeah. And it's like, of course that makes sense that they cannot be separate, because we cannot have the feeling unless it's already come to fruition.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's just rewind this and like to someone who never heard this term before, Sankalpa, and they're kind of like, manifestation, what has that got to do with yoga? Yoga is downward facing dog. Like, where does someone start in order to understand what this has to do with their yoga journey?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and there's so many places that you could start. But the idea of Sankalpa is a feeling-based intention, something that you wish to cultivate within a period of time. Usually we say 6, 12, 18 months, a soonish period of time, not like a life goal. And we say that it's a feeling because that's the most important part of our yoga practice, is the yoga practice leads us to feeling. And if you were to start perhaps with this idea of Sankalpa, often we run like a Sankalpa workshop at the start of every year. And this can be really helpful, because it's just a time where it feels very aligned for most people to get clear on what do they want out of the next 12 months of their life. What are their goals? What do they want to achieve? What do they want to cultivate? And then that leads us to this idea of, how do I want to feel? And I think that that's so important to understand. How do I want to feel? Because the desired outcome, we have to have non-attachment to it. That's the path of yoga, that we can't attach onto these things. But if we focus on the feeling, that feeling might arise. The desired outcome might spawn in so many different ways that we couldn't have ever imagined. Yeah. But the feeling is what came to fruition. Yeah. And so, I think that if somebody was to get curious about Sankalpa, I would say just start to journal after your practice, and potentially take one of our workshops online on setting Sankalpa for the start of the year. But you can do it literally anytime. Yeah.
Yeah. And like traditionally, this was a vow that someone would make for the outcome of their practice. Yeah. You know,
and a period of sadhana. Yeah. You know, like they would form a practice for a period of time to work with a Sankalpa.
Yeah. I will do this practice for the good of humankind. Yeah. I will do this practice for, the good of my village, to help the land to be nourished. Yeah. I'll do this practice for the state of yoga. It's kind of like, I will do this yoga practice for this specific desired outcome that I have. Yeah. And that is kind of the essence of yoga in relation to Sankalpa. It's kind of like we have to select the outcome. And if we then take this one step back and we talk about the episodes that we've spoken about this month, then the Prarabdha karma has already decided your Sankalpa for you. Like you, in some level, whether that's conscious, subconscious, or completely unconscious, have already decided the direction that your life is going. Whether that's based on what you actually want, or what your parents wanted for you, or what society wanted for you. And you've been watering that intention with every decision that you make, every action that you take for a long period of time. And so often we arrive somewhere and we're just like, hey, this isn't what I want. I'm not content in life. And those oftentimes are the moments that we need to start to consider, well, then what do you want? Yeah. And if you don't get that kick up the arse to consider, like, oh, all right, I've gotten to where I am and it's not bringing me happiness, and it's not filling me up in the way that I want to be filled, then what do you actually want? And if you can take the time to consider that and then commit to it for a long period of time, then it's called Sankalpa.
And I think that's why we focus on the feeling, right?
Yeah.
Because, so often when there's goals involved and things like this, it can become this, I don't want to say superficial, but perhaps this like materialistic approach to life. Like, I'll be happy when I get a new car. I'll be happy when I get a new house. I'll be happy when I have this amount of money in my bank account.
Yeah.
And so often when we set those goals for ourselves, amazing if we achieve them. But most of the time when those goals happen, that feeling of happiness actually doesn't accompany it. Or there's a realization that that goal isn't what's going to bring them happiness. And that's why in yoga and in Sankalpa, we focus on the feeling. Because if that's the feeling we can keep coming back to, whether it's just a glimmer at the end of our practice, and you kind of mentioned before this idea of imperfect Sankalpa and perfect Sankalpa, that at the start, we don't believe it. There's an element of us that's skeptical of it. And that means it's a good Sankalpa because it's a little bit lofty.
Yeah.
But slowly over time, the more we anchor ourselves in that feeling within our practice, whenever we're repeating Sankalpa, whenever we're chanting or whatever it is that we're doing, the more we interact with that feeling, the easier it becomes to allow that to be our natural state of being.
Yeah.
And therefore, whatever goal or desired outcome goes with it will manifest.
Yeah.
Will come to fruition.
Yeah. And then we commit to that for a long period of time. And this is one last piece I wanted to put in the etymology was a kalpa is 1 day in the year of Brahma, which is 4.32 billion years.
Yeah. We don't have that much time.
But it implies a long period of time that you commit to this wholehearted intention, but you commit to it for a long period of time. And that's to say that your goals should be lofty in yoga. Like, you could have the goal to buy the car that you want. Yeah. Maybe you want a Jeep. Yeah. Is that what you wanted, a Jeep? I remember you saying a car. I know, but I remember you saying like when you were younger you wanted a Jeep.
I guess so.
Like
I love my Ford
soft
Escape right now. I don't know if I would. Yeah, I mean, maybe if I had the option to have a Jeep Wrangler, I would take it. But I've heard they're shocking.
But what I'm saying is, like, that's not a lofty goal. Like,
no,
a Jeep
not.
Wrangler is a Jeep Wrangler. And I'm saying, like, let's change the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's make sure that every single person on the planet has a yoga and meditation practice which is perfectly suited to them, that they fully understand and can practice every single day, and it nourishes every part of their life. That's a Sankalpa.
I mean, yes, but I don't think there's anything wrong with a Sankalpa being for personal gain rather than for universal gain.
No.
Like, they don't have to be that lofty to start with.
Yeah. But at the same time, your Sankalpa, like, there is a Sankalpa within your subconscious regardless.
Yeah, for sure.
And so your Sankalpa could be something that you believe about yourself that is not producing the outcome, that is producing the outcome that you want subconsciously.
Yeah.
You know, it's the producing the outcome that you have. And so you need to consider then, what seeds have you been watering? What is living in your subconscious that is producing the current life that you have? And if that is no longer serving you, then consider, what do you want? And if a Jeep is the outcome of that, consider one layer deeper, and that is, what is the feeling that Jeep represents? What is the freedom that Jeep represents?
Exactly.
What is the abundance that Jeep represents? Like, we need to look less at the outcome materialistically and more about what the feeling of that actually is for you.
Agreed.
And if you can commit to that feeling for a long period of time, then it will become much more than a Jeep. It'll become your relationships. It'll become your work. It'll become everything in your life.
For sure. And I think it's so important to kind of understand, this idea that for some people, like, lofty is just like self-belief. Lofty is like self-confidence and self-trust. And that, when we're starting off on this journey of yoga, we're starting off on this journey of Sankalpa, like, get lofty, but as per your capacity. Yeah. Get lofty, but be curious about what you have to offer.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like, you know, if you are working a job that doesn't fulfill you, and you're in a relationship that doesn't fulfill you, and you have kind of just started practicing yoga, then, like, let's just consider what the next step is. And I think this is a really important point that you've brought up, that it's like, let's start with what you can achieve in 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's start with what you can achieve in 6 to 12 months, because you will be surprised how much you can achieve in 6 to 12 months.
When you set your mind to it.
When you set your mind to something, and when you actually start to take those actions towards whatever that outcome is. And it might take longer than 6 to 12 months. It might take 18 months. It might take 2 years. But once you get there,
once you're locked in.
Once you get there, you realize your capacity.
Yeah.
And then your capacity grows. And you're like, well, if I could do that, imagine what else I can do.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Let's get into it. Let's get into how do we do this?
Okay. So we just want to go straight into
let's tell your notes.
I mean, the notes are you know me, the notes are not that important. Okay. So this is what we do. First, we assess. Where are we at in our life, right? Where are we at in our life? And if our life is not fulfilling us in the way that we want, then consider, what do you want, right? What are you looking for?
Yeah.
And the next is you set your resolve, right? What are you deciding from this moment forward is true for you? And then the third layer is, once you have decided what is true for you in this moment, how do you commit daily to upholding that rule that you've set for yourself? You know, one of the definitions that we work with for Sankalpa is a rule that you follow above all others for a long period of time, right? So decide what you want, confirm what you are deciding is your truth, and then commit to that for a long period of time. Then create for yourself a yoga practice. And when I say yoga practice, you know me, I mean meditation practice. Some yoga nidra, meditation, some practice will allow you to move so deeply into yourself, move beyond the senses, move beyond the outside world and your thinking mind. And in the depth of that practice, take your Sankalpa and repeat it 3 times, right? Place that into the depths of your subconscious like a seed, right? You plant your seeds in the wintertime and they bloom in the summertime. You know, it takes time. And if we use this gardening analogy, that's really what it is. You plant a seed and then you wait. You plant the seed every day, you water the seed every day, and it will start to become your actions. And then one day you'll be standing in this new place with this new life, and you'll say, wow, I did it. I didn't even have to keep it in my conscious awareness. You know, it was my subconscious that led me in this direction.
Absolutely.
It became the sum of your actions.
I mean, I think first of all, like if that's the journey you want to go on and you're quite new to the practice, you can always engage somebody to help you create a practice, whether that's one of us or something like this. We can help point you in the right direction of that. And the other thing I was going to say as well is, like, it has to be a practice that facilitates that feeling as well. And we've been speaking a lot recently about how much we've been enjoying chanting as a practice. And still within my head, I'm like, asana. Like, I need to be doing asana. But actually, like at home, maybe not so much here, I'm doing a lot of asana over here in Sri Lanka, but more so at home, I'm like hitting the gym 3-4 times a week, Pilates 3-4 times a week, dancing 3-4 times a week, like my body, and walking as well. Like my body is so physically stretched and challenged and strengthening in all of these different ways that, like, I love asana, and I know there'll be periods of my life again where I am just in the depths of asana. But right now I'm just loving chanting, and it feels so conducive to my Sankalpa and to what I'm working with in that space as well. So it's just like, you know, always this like non-attachment to what the practice should look like, and always just following the feeling that the practice is offering us.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that like that planting of the seed, like the feeling should arise naturally for you. It's like that desire to move in a specific direction in your life, like that desire should come from your heart. Like you'll know what direction you're headed. You'll know if right now your life is not that outcome, and that because that outcome is a feeling, right? You can feel that your life is not fully aligned with where it could be or where you want it to be. And I think sometimes just like your phrasing for the Sankalpa matters. And,
for sure.
you know, if we haven't been super clear on this, we usually phrase our Sankalpa as a sentence.
Yeah.
And it's usually an I am statement, and it's written in such a way that it evokes that feeling, it evokes that emotion within us, as if we were explaining it to someone.
Yeah.
And so when you sit with that and sit down to write that I am statement describing where you are in 6 to 12 months, 18 months, so that you can commit to it as your Sankalpa, plant it deep into your subconscious, like it should invoke that feeling. So that when you get to the depth of your practice, you can bring that feeling as the bhavana, as the flavoring of your inner space, so that when you come out of the practice, it's like that feeling is already there, and it becomes your compass. You move toward it.
Magnetize towards experiences, actions, people that facilitate that feeling within you.
Yeah. Okay, so Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, our favorite at the moment, because all of these teachings are kind of based in it. Okay, it says, as is your desire, so is your resolve. As is your resolve, so is your action. As is your action, so is your destiny.
Pretty cool.
How's that for the free will people?
That's it.
It's just like actually there's no difference between free will and destiny, because the destiny is your unconscious desires, right? And so you do not have free will so long as you don't do the work to unpack your unconscious desires, right? The people who are bound in that karma, right? They can say, wow, this is my destiny. I have to do this. And the people who are freed from that are the people who have gone in and done the work, right? To really consider what is a desire, set that desire, turn it into a resolve, let that resolve become their actions. And it's like, then you shape your own destiny.
Yeah.
Pretty powerful. Okay. Now, there is a conundrum in the yoga tradition about Sankalpa, because we're talking about it in this kind of like manifestation, new agey sort of way. But the tradition says that it has two sides. Okay. There's like a shadow side to Sankalpa. And that is that it's self-serving. And it does not, from the Vedantic perspective, support the ultimate goal, which is freedom from the cycle of dukkha.
That's fair. It's a bit more of a tantric approach.
Well, this comes from the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
Krishna says, the one who has renounced all selfish sankalpas is called the one who ascended the path of yoga. And that's to say that the mind of the yogi has no sankalpa.
Yeah.
It says the same in the Tripura Rahasya.
Okay.
It says the same thing. It says like, this is what sankalpa is, blah, 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 blah. But it says ultimately, sankalpa is a desire.
Yeah, of course.
And desire doesn't help us on the path of moksha.
Yeah, on the path of yoga.
Like if your goal is yoga,
Liberation.
Then your goal should be yoga. Your sankalpa should be yoga.
Yeah.
And anything that is not that is bhoga.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And I guess in that way, the Sankalpa that we speak of is of the tantric path, is of the householder path, that we can enjoy the luxuries of this world and the feelings of pleasure, karma that we get. And when the time is right, the Sankalpa will become moksha.
I think this is important for us to make that distinction, because without that understanding, we can think that the purpose of yoga is manifestation.
Yeah. True.
And it can kind of like, we can lose sight of what the purpose of this is. And really, the purpose of Sankalpa is just to fulfill whatever desires that we have, like to accelerate those desires so that we can live them out, so that we don't have those desires anymore. We can say, all right, well, I've had that experience. And so now I can commit myself fully to yoga. Yeah. And then I think also for the people who think their desire is yoga, the experience and who think that they're really spiritual and want to, you know, have a taste of the infinite, just like knowing that you have to set that as your intention above all else. And that's a path.
That is a path. Powerful path.
Okay, cool. Well, what do you reckon? Anything Ayurveda has to say about Sankalpa?
We can talk about Sankalpa and Ayurveda. I think that from notes I can speak to a little bit about these like approaches that the doshas take. But I think maybe just like from a very practical level, from Ayurveda, but also from yoga as well, like how to use Sankalpa. It's, you know, take some time, like you said, we've already kind of gone through the steps. Take some time to consider what it is that you really wish to achieve and cultivate for yourself in the next 6, 12, 18 months. Allow it to be a feeling, you know, and there's so many meditation practices you can do. If you're a part of Sadhana Sangha, we have the New Year's Day workshop.
And this month I've literally done a whole workshop on Sankalpa as well.
Cool.
There's a bunch. We've got so many Sankalpa workshops on there.
Sankalpa. So you can go and sit with that, get the feeling, and then perhaps get some words associated with it. But the feeling is the most important thing. And then in the depths of your practice, whether that's your meditation, whether that's your chanting, whether it's your invocations, whether it's your asana, whatever it is, in the deepest part, you implant that Sankalpa into your experience, into your practice. Let it seed like the seed of a flower, and slowly, slowly over time, you will water it and water it and water it so that it moves into fruition. And I think, yeah, what a beautiful gift. Yoga Nidra is one of those practices that we can really, really anchor in there because we're working with such deep subconscious levels.
I have another idea, and that is like if Ayurveda is about health, that should be the Sankalpa. That it's like actually the core of Ayurveda is you have to want to get healthy.
I mean,
because Ayurveda doesn't mask anything.
Everything, isn't it? Like, you know, like this is what we always speak about. Like, I won't work with somebody in Ayurveda unless they want to work with me. So it's like if you say, can I pay for my mum's consultation? I'll say no. You know, like somebody has to want, even on a subconscious level, even on an imperfect level where they don't maybe believe it's possible, there has to be that desire for health. And yeah, absolutely. Once there's that desire for health, everything changes, right? And it's the same idea of just like, you have to believe in it for it to work.
That's what I was going to say.
Exactly.
Is oftentimes the reason it doesn't work is because you don't believe it's going to work.
Yes.
Therefore you kind of self-sabotage the process. And it's like, well, if you believe wholeheartedly it does, like whether or not it's true or real, it's like the placebo effect will do it anyway.
The thing is, though, I think like if we were gonna like nut it down and be like, okay, well, that's a bit woo-woo, that's a bit little spiritual for me and it's my health, you know. But I think what the thing is like if you believe something's gonna work, you do the things. If you don't believe something's gonna work, you half-ass the things. And so if you believe, if it makes sense, if it resonates for you, especially within this Ayurveda and Dinacharya, then you will just do the things that you've been told by a practitioner. You'll do the things that you know support your health and will propel you in that direction. I think there's just maybe these like little approaches with the doshas that we could kind of speak to and how the Sankalpas can kind of support. I think for Vata types, they're so creative and they're so up in the ethereal realms all the time that what they really struggle with is consistency in their daily life, whether that's their routine or their commitments and things like this. There's this lack of consistency. But Vata types love to feel and love to be in that kind of creative, inspirational realm. And so it can become this really beautiful anchor point for them as a way to find consistency within their life. That once a day they sit in those ethereal realms and they feel that essence of Sankalpa and they call it forth, and it creates this almost this softness and this magnet that allows them to draw into consistency in that way.
I feel like the Vata types really often will be like, they'll thrive off a vision board.
Exactly, a vision board.
Like a creative scrapbooking.
Or something. Yeah, like absolutely. It's so fun and sweet and playful to do it in that way. I think the Pitta types, they're so committed. And they can have this fierce devotion to something like Sankalpa. But what happens when Pitta types have no intention or no Sankalpa is there's just this fierce doing, this fierce acting without a goal. And so often that's what leads to burnout, and that's what leads to these kind of chronic fatigue problems that we often see. But when there's a vision, when there's a dream, when there's a feeling that they're working towards, there's that fierceness and it gets channeled in that
Maybe the
direction.
pitta types need a progress bar.
Yeah, maybe a progress bar, some sticker chart.
Yeah, gold star.
But that's the thing is just like if they have a feeling,
Yeah.
like that's it,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like they're not going to hit chronic fatigue. They're not going to hit burnout.
Because you're driven by that passion.
They're driven by the passion and the feeling, and inherently that feeling is going to be nourishing rather than depleting.
Yeah.
But if you don't know what you're working towards, then of course it's going to cause some harm, maybe, for pitta types. And then the kapha types, they're, you know, the people that are just so easy to fall into a rhythm.
They won't even start.
Once the momentum builds, then they just find that consistency and that feeling. Again, kapha types love to feel.
Yeah.
But exactly right, they struggle with the starting process.
Right. And so don't worry about being too visual. Just focus on a feeling and then find a steady pace towards it.
Just find a steady pace towards it. Find a practice that brings you joy.
Yeah.
Just find a practice that brings you joy. Start there. And then allow a feeling to manifest through that.
Love it.
What is it that I want to cultivate?
Yeah. And then I think for anyone, like you could just once or twice a day do your yoga practice. At the end of your yoga practice, at the start of your yoga practice, Sankalpa mudra, right hand on top of the left hand. You turn the hands like this. Hold your Sankalpa mudra. Bring that sentence or that feeling into your heart, just as a reminder. And then as you go into your practice, you do your practice, blah, 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 blah. You end up in meditation and then you bring it again at the end. Yeah. I think that's like the simplest thing that you can do. And then just like commit to that for 40 days minimum. Yep. You know, commit to that practice, whatever it is, and allow your Sankalpa to be uncovered for you through that practice, refined for you through that practice. See where it takes you. That's all you can do.
I think the other thing perhaps we could just add into that is that as well, if you really want to work with Sankalpa, is look for those moments of Shri. And we're going to speak about Shri next month. But Shri is beauty, Shri is abundance, Shri is nature.
Don't give away too much.
Oh,
just 3.
When you connect with Shri, you know, those moments where you're just like in awe of life, whether that's watching a sunset or a sunrise, whether that's connecting with nature, sitting outside, whatever it is, whenever there's that moment of just like, like use your Sankalpa then as well, call it forth then.
Love that. Okay, so final takeaway, if you could plant one new thing into your subconscious today, what would you plant in your subconscious? Okay, that was not a question for you. That was a question for the audience.
I didn't answer.
And this is Sito.
Yeah, if you come into
come
training
Sito.
with us in Sri Lanka, you get to meet Sito. You can see him. He's such a little sweetie. What do you think about Sankalpa? Sito Sankalpa is just sleeping.
Sito Sankalpa is to move to Australia with us.
So
right.
if you want to foster, no, we can't claim Sito. Sorry, Stefan, if you're listening.
Yeah, no.
But if you want to support our dreams and passions, then check out our offerings.
Yeah, send this podcast to someone who you love and maybe your best yoga friend or someone who you think just could benefit from it, even if they don't practice yoga. I think they sometimes can be helpful for other people, not just yoga people. Thank you for listening. Check out the website. We've got plenty of things to offer you. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, baby.
Hari Om.